you so much for joining me today. We are going to chat about on-campus jobs at Seattle University. So my name is Sharon Leary, and I am the Director for Student Employment at Seattle U. We are located in Bell, actually 111. Okay, I have a typo on here. We just moved offices. So I'm zooming into you from my new office, which is in Bellarmine Hall, 111. You can also find us on the Seattle U website, as well as in the Red Hawk Hub, which I'll talk a little bit about. And today we're going to talk about what is student employment, what are some of the benefits of working on campus. We'll kind of break down different types of opportunities, the basics that you need to know about student employment, how to find jobs. We'll do a little bit of a handshake demo. If you haven't been on there yet, that's where you will find and apply to jobs. And we'll keep this a little bit interactive. So I am hoping to get to know you a little bit as well. So student employment, you can kind of think of as HR for student employees. So we help our on-campus employers post jobs and recruit students. We help students find job opportunities. We manage all of the hiring process. We provide support for students in navigating their jobs, as well as making sure they're getting the most out of those on-campus jobs. If you aren't already familiar with the Seattle University mission, which I'm guessing it's probably been plugged in lots of different places in your orientation, you'll notice that professional formation is part of our mission, and student employment is a big part of that. So we provide at Seattle U many opportunities for students to take what they're learning in the classroom and apply it to real life applications, right? To be able to build a skill set that is going to help you in any job path or career path that you take. What we want is for you to, right, become and grow into that whole person, that person who is figuring out and discerning not only who you are, but where you want to go and what's your sort of place in the world, right? And when we talk about on-campus jobs, that's really part of that, because we want you to develop the skills and the experience that are going to help you kind of go wherever you're going to go next, give you the opportunity to kind of explore career paths through these on-campus jobs, explore your skills and your strengths and your interests, as well as grow in those skills and strengths. So what is student employment? When I'm talking about student employment, I'm talking about work opportunities that are specifically provided by Seattle University, right? Goal number one is help you gain money, right? To help you offset the cost of your education, earn money for educational expenses. Goal number two is to help you gain valuable skills and competencies. So again, gaining that specific experience. There are other ways you can do this, right? So you could get a job off campus, you could get a part-time job, an internship, etc. Those are not provided by Seattle University, right? So these, when I'm talking about student employment, I'm talking about our on-campus jobs, as well as some work study opportunities with our partner organizations. Internships are managed by the academic departments. If you were looking for other types of off-campus jobs, you might work with the career engagement office on that. My office specifically manages these types of opportunities. So I want to hear from you. And my first question for you is, why do you want to work on campus? So please chat in And let's hear from everybody about their why. Being more involved, helping others, work, study, being close to school. Yep, a safe workplace, great, gaining experience. So I'm seeing a lot of like that convenience factor, right? Gaining money, being involved. It's really great to hear more about that, because it certainly is a really good way to build a community. Wonderful. Okay, so lots of the same reasons here. I'm curious, what do you think are some of the benefits of working on campus? So as opposed to working in any old job, and you've mentioned some of these things already, why work on campus? Networking, yep. Getting to know the community, gaining skills, earning money, good. Connections. Insurance, no, unfortunately, student employment opportunities don't provide insurance benefits. You do get sick pay. That's a Washington state law. So you do get sick time. Networking and convenience, yep. The easy commute, getting to know the area, balancing your schedule. That's a good one. Yeah. So your supervisor is going to understand that you are a student first, right? And so your schedule is going to be based around your class time, understanding in regards to finals and midterms and things that you might have going on that are academic related. So yeah, many benefits to working on campus. And then the last thing I want to hear about is just what are some of the types of jobs that you're interested in working? So that way we can talk about what some of the opportunities are. Front desk, lots of those opportunities. Research, we do have research. We've got lots of jobs at UREC, library, lifeguarding, tutoring, all of those things. Ambassadors, yep. The bookstore, yeah. So the bookstore is an opportunity. Our dining services hires students. Technical, like with HVAC. So actually, our facilities team does hire, and they hire students within like the electrical department and the vehicle department and the lock shop. There are non-customer service jobs. So we might think of like game day events. So helping set up our athletics game days. There are definitely photography jobs, graphic design. There's stuff in like the scene shop. The landscaping, yep, we do have students who work in grounds on our grounds team. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that a lot of the things that everyone's interested in are things that we offer, which is exciting. So yeah, there are lots of benefits to student employment. You mentioned a lot of these things, so I don't think I have to belabor the point too much, right? But working on campus is a great way for you to earn money in a job that is convenient, accessible, jobs that are intentionally designed to make sure that you are gaining skills that are going to be useful, where we're going to help you explore and discern career paths and your interests, where you might be able to apply things that you're learning in the classroom. And lots of people mentioned like the interest in getting involved. We find that our student employees on campus really see an increased sense of belonging on campus. So it's a great opportunity to meet other students that you might not meet otherwise, right? If you're kind of honed in on your major, you're meeting students in your class, but maybe not other students. So great way to meet other students, as well as to get connected to like staff and faculty and folks that can be a part of that support system that you'll have on campus. And then the last thing that I want to mention, which I don't think is something that anyone did mention in our chat here, which is that we actually see that working on campus in student employment opportunities contributes to student persistence and career success. So while you might think working while in school might have a negative impact, right? You're adding things to your plate, you don't have a lot of time, that it might get, kind of overwhelming. We actually see that because on-campus jobs, right, have all of these benefits, right, where you're working in a student-first job with a supervisor who understands, who's going to help you grow, help you get connected to community, that we actually see that students who work on campus have higher academic success rates, deeper connections to campus community, higher graduation and persistence rates, especially than those students who work off campus. And we see that undergraduates who work while in college earn more after graduation. So it's an opportunity for you to gain those skills, put on your resume, right? And then help kind of launch you into that early career success. So let's talk a little bit about what student employment on campus at Seattle U looks like. So first of all, I want to clarify that you do not need to have work study to work on campus. If you do have work study and you get a job on campus, then we will apply your work study to that job. But if you don't have work study, we will pay you from our own institutional dollars. What this allows us to do is provide all students with access to job opportunities. It also allows us to, if you do have a work study award and you reach that maximum amount you could earn with work study, we can just switch you to paying you from our own dollars. So that means you don't have to stop working, you don't have to find a new job. You don't have to think about where the money is coming from at all. You just get that job and you work and you focus on, your job and doing a good job there. So when you're looking on Handshake, you're going to be looking at our on-campus student employment, and you don't have to use any of those work study filters. In order to work on campus, you must be registered at least half-time, the exception being during academic breaks. So breaks being winter break, spring break, and summer break. You are allowed to work up to 20 hours per week, and that is a total. So if you got multiple jobs on campus, which you can do, you can work a total of 20 hours per week. During those academic breaks, if you are not taking classes in the summer or you are registered less than half-time, then you can work up to full-time at 40 hours per week. Some of our jobs on campus, over the summer might really need that full-time work. But some of our jobs on campus are going to be more in that like 10 hours per week range. I think especially during the school year. Again, our commitment is to making sure that you succeed academically. And the research shows that the more hours you work, the less likely you are to be able to hold on to that academic persistence and success. It is capped. So I'm seeing some questions in the chat. I'm just going to get through the rest of my bullet points here, and then I'll address those questions. Our pay rate is the City of Seattle pay rate, which is minimum wage, which is $20.76 an hour. Generally, if the pay rate goes up or the minimum wage goes up in Seattle, it'll happen around January 1st, and then everyone would get that pay bump at that time if that's the case. We do also have remote and hybrid options. Many jobs on campus do require in-person work, but there are opportunities for some remote and hybrid work as well. So just adding to that like flexibility piece, right? So a question in the chat is, what is the difference in work study and pay from the campus's institutional dollars? So there's not much of a difference. All student employees, that is a classification from the federal government, are FICA tax exempt. So that's Social Security and Medicare taxes. So that's regardless of whether or not you are being paid from our money or from work study. If you are being paid from work study, that is considered an award as opposed to an income. And that will eventually benefit you when you report that year's earnings in a FAFSA. So it's not gonna, if you in your first year earn work study dollars, you would then report that year's earnings, not in the next year's FAFSA, but in the next year's FAFSA. So it's a long-standing federal program. There's also a state program that has kind of wavered in benefit opportunities. That's kind of the main benefit, is just that being considered a award versus income when you're talking about financial aid applications. Full-time also works for international students. So international student visas allow students to work up to 20 hours per week during scheduled academic breaks. They are also permitted to work up to 40 hours per week. Those are the federal policies for F1 and J1 visas. Are there opportunities for raises? Not at this time. We have one standard pay rate, and if the minimum wage goes up, then you will get a pay increase with that. There may be a time where we will move to more of a pay tiered system, but we are not at that place yet. Question about jobs on Handshake. So yeah, so right now I would make sure that you're looking at the job descriptions to see what is sort of maybe more entry level. That I know there's like things like athletics positions up there right now. But yes, there are more jobs. I know UREC is going to be posting jobs soon. I know our retail services are going to be posting some jobs soon. And we also have an on-campus jobs fair the first week of classes. So that's especially a good opportunity for our new and incoming students to learn about job opportunities available. But yes, number one, I would say is definitely don't limit yourself if you're not, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, if you're not sure whether or not you're qualified, because I do think most students coming in are, unless it is a graduate specific position, are maybe more qualified than they think they are. You just have to really work on that application, to put forth a really strong application and communicate about your skills and experience. But there are jobs that are going to be really specifically great for our undergraduate population. How do students apply for work study? So you don't apply for work study, you are awarded in your financial aid package. So if you received an award in the financial aid package, then you apply for any job on campus, and then we would apply the work study funding to that job. If you if you want to check with your financial aid counselor, if you don't see that you have a work study award, you certainly can, but again, you don't need to have work study to work on campus. Okay, so my account on Handshake is deactivated. So if you are having difficulty with your Handshake account, I do apologize. This is due to a technical issue. We were doing some data cleanup, and it seems that some folks' accounts were deactivated in that process. Please email, and I will put this in the chat. Please email Christian Russell, and he will reactivate your account for you while we work on the longer term fix. So that is the email. So please do email him if you are having difficulty with your Handshake account. Someone in the chat direct message and asked me, I was awarded work study and now it's gone. Why did that happen? If you make changes to your financial aid, that may impact whether or not you have availability in your financial aid package for work study. Work study can only be awarded if you have financial need based on the scholarships that you receive, loans that you take out, et cetera, et cetera. Again, this is one of the reasons why we don't require work study for you to work on campus. Are there job opportunities that have schedules that are flexible for student athletes? So lots of jobs on campus have many different types of schedules. There are jobs that have like 2 hours a week. There's jobs that are, you know, going to be more of that like 15 hours a week. There are jobs within the athletics department who are certainly going to understand the schedules of student athletes. There are also jobs that work at night. So like our public safety team, they work at night, right? So depending upon what your schedule is, there probably are going to be some opportunities for you. Can we start applying right now? That's a great question. And I'm going to jump ahead to my slide that addresses that, which is yes. You can start applying now. You will not be able to start working until you can physically do your new hire paperwork on campus. That is, again, a federal requirement that you have to do your I-9 in person. So you might not be able to start working yet, depending upon where you are in the world, but you can certainly start applying now, and supervisors are hiring now, as well as they hire all year round. So if you are feeling like you don't get a job within the first 2 weeks of school and then it's over for you, that is definitely not the case. Our on-campus employers hire all year based on their hiring needs. Okay, so I'm gonna head back in my presentation here. You'll see we talked a little bit about this, but we have over 1,200 student employees on campus at any given point in time. So lots of different jobs. I know a bunch of people mention the types of things that they're interested in, and I think you'll see all of those things kind of depicted here. So at UREC, there are like operations teams folks, but then there's also opportunities to be a personal trainer, a lifeguard, a group fitness instructor. Within athletics, there are folks who do ticketing, marketing, videography. Red Hawk, Rudy the Red Hawk is also a student employee position. So there's an opportunity there. We have opportunities in our dining services, lots of helping jobs. So mentors, coaches, tutors, writing consultants, again, that like front desk, office assistant support. There are desk assistants who work within our residence halls. jobs at the library, peer research consultants. There are also jobs in campus ministry, or some of our other more spiritual Jesuit offices. I will also mention here that, because I often get questions about resident assistants, that is actually a leadership opportunity that is compensated with a scholarship. It's compensated with money that covers your housing and food bill. So those are actually not employment positions because you're not paid an hourly wage. There are also other sort of scholarship opportunities. Those are the leadership opportunities within our student involvement department. So things like student government, the student activities committee, the red zone, which is sort of like our spirit squad. So those are compensated, and you get a scholarship for those. So it's kind of a way to it's another way to think about employment, but you're not an hourly student employee. And then also depicted on here, you'll see research. So within our College of Science and Engineering, there is a specific undergraduate research program where you can be teamed up with faculty. So that's pretty cool. But then outside of that, our faculty are engaged in various different types of research throughout the year with grant projects and donor funded opportunities. So you might also find some research opportunities throughout the year as well. Our criminal justice department, there are lots of research opportunities available there. I've really seen research in many different areas. Is there a limit on leadership opportunities? I don't know that to be the case. Those are managed by our Center for Student Involvement. So I would definitely encourage you to go to the activities fair. That happens again kind of within the first couple weeks of classes. A lot of those opportunities are also posted on Handshake. So I can show you what those look like, but you could even apply to some of those now. Would you be able to work in 2 different ones? I'm not quite sure. Is Handshake the only app to use to find on-campus jobs? Yes. So Handshake is our central place to find on-campus jobs. Okay, so let's jump out of this presentation here and jump into Handshake so you can see what this looks like and how to find jobs on Handshake. Make sure you're using the right filters, all the tips and tricks here. Will research positions with faculty be posted on Handshake? Sometimes faculty advertise positions through emails to the department. We try to get them to post on Handshake. So some of the positions are posted on Handshake, but also you might talk to your specific academic department, and you might get some outreach just via email. Okay, so I am currently looking inside one of my student employees' Handshake accounts. So this is what this will look like for you. So what we will do is go to jobs to look for job opportunities. Couple ways you can do this. My first one I'm going to recommend is my tried and true method, which is to scroll down to look in the filters to look for employers, because all of our jobs are going to be posted underneath one employer, which is called Seattle University On-Campus Employment. So when you have that filter on, right, you will see that right now there are 27 jobs posted.
So all of our jobs are posted underneath this one employer. You'll see, right, library assistant, great job
for an undergraduate incoming student. Event services assistant, also a great job for an incoming first year student. Student office assistant, scholarly services assistant. Now, then you might see some of our graduate positions, academic and data operations, academic services support. So yeah, those are, some of our graduate positions. But lots of other types of opportunities. There's a research assistant posted right here, right? IT service desk, student technician, ESPN Plus broadcast production assistant. That's pretty cool. So lots of jobs posted currently. I wanted to see if I could kind of show you one of our jobs that is one of the leadership positions. So let me see if I can find, they might have expired just recently. But you'll see how
all of these jobs are posted at $20.76 an hour.
If it was not a student employee position, you would see like if they are compensated at like $1,500 a quarter, like stipend or a quarter. So that's something to look out for. So this is by looking at the filter for Seattle University on-campus employment. If we were to look at this employer specifically, you also have the opportunity to follow, which I highly recommend, because then you will be notified every time a new job is posted to this employer. So that is my big tip for this session, is to make sure you are following the employer. Okay. Questions in the chat. Recently, Cornish and Seattle U merged. Yes, so on-campus jobs. We are one university, so there are going to be jobs. I just heard from our IT department that is going to be posting jobs for IT on the Cornish campus. Seattle University students are eligible to apply there, as well as there is a library position posted on Handshake right now that is at the library on our Cornish College of the Arts South Lake Union campus. Similarly, our Seattle U students who go to Cornish College of the Arts, who are enrolled in that college, are able to work on the Seattle U campus. So we are all one school, and jobs will all be posted on Handshake, and you can apply to all of them. If you're given a set dollar amount, are we able to work more hours and earn more than the award? Yes. So as I mentioned, because we also pay students from our own institutional dollars, and we do not require you to have work study in order to work on campus, this allows us to apply your work study award and funding to your job. And then if you reach that amount, that maximum amount, we just switch you to being paid from non-work study dollars. So that is one of the reasons why we do that. Seattle University heavily invests our own money to pay students, because we think these are incredibly essential opportunities to our student development, as well as, quite frankly, student employees help make this university run. So it's again, good opportunities for students all the way around. Okay.
So back to Handshake here. So we are currently on the filter for employers. If I clear that filter, I will also show you that there is a filter here for on-campus student employment.
So
this will provide you with
all jobs that our employers post and label as on campus. So that's another good way to see that. Sometimes our jobs, instead of being labeled as on-campus student employment, are labeled as experiential learning. Those are some of those positions that are paid not as an hourly waged position, right? So thinking about like our resident assistants, for example. But again, you'd want to make sure that if you're looking at the experiential learning, you are looking at the ones that are posted under our Seattle University on-campus employment employer, which I'm not sure that any are posted right now. But not all experiential learning opportunities posted on Handshake are going to be our on-campus opportunities. So what
you'll see is that there are hundreds of thousands of jobs posted on Handshake,
because this is not just a place that you're going to go to find on-campus jobs. It's the site that you will use to get connected to jobs and employers for college students and recent college graduates, and to connect with specific employers that are connected to Seattle University. So you will also find in events, there are opportunities for employer info sessions, career fairs, all sorts of things. So these things are starting as early as this week. It looks like they are happening all over the globe, so they're not just in Seattle. You can look specifically for jobs that are hosted by Seattle University. You will also get, generally get emails and notifications about those events. We can also look for career fairs. So our big yearly career fair is happening in October. That's already here on Handshake, something you can register for in looks like 12 days. The on-campus jobs fair will be posted here, so that's where you can register for that. There are resources from the Career Center on here. There is an employer directory where you can connect with employers. There's a feed, which is like career advice and things, and you can post there too. So, they are trying to like expand it more to being kind of social media-esque. So, Handshake will be used to find on-campus jobs, but it is not. That is not all. That is just like the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more that you can do with Handshake, and that I really encourage you to build out your profile and make the most of this site. I also just want to show you that after you apply to jobs, they are going to be compiled in this My Job section. And it looks like, Maya hasn't applied to anything lately. So I might have to talk to her about that, although she works for me, so maybe I don't want her to apply to other jobs. But this is where you would see all of your applications and you can see your status. So if your employer updates that they're reviewing your application, whether you're hired or declined, you'll likely also get an email. But if you haven't been hearing from them, I'd make sure you keep an eye on this page as well. So any questions about Handshake before I move on to the next part of our presentation? All right.
So, As I mentioned, on-campus jobs fair, it is Friday, September 26th.
That's the Friday of Welcome Week. And it's going to be in the Student Center. You'll get used to our acronyms for buildings. So that's STCN, Student Center, room 160. And you can RSVP for that on Handshake. Encourage you to bring a resume, but it is not required. And there is no dress code. You know, we know your students, and we want you to kind of come as you are. So definitely join us there. Question, if we have recommendation letters, would we put those in our resume, or is there a place to submit those? So typically jobs are not going to request recommendation letters. That tends to be more of like school applications, etc. If an employer wants references, they would specifically ask for them. And I'm not aware of any of our on-campus jobs that ask for references, but some of them might. Typically, in terms of applications on Handshake and applying to our on-campus jobs, you're going to need a resume. And this is a good segue. You may need a cover letter. A lot of them require cover letters. If it's something like a graphic design position or a writing heavy position, they might also ask you for like to demonstrate some of your work, like have a writing sample, or to be able to show like a piece that you worked on, something like that. But I would say the minimum, typically all you need is a resume and maybe a cover letter. So the Career Engagement Office is a great place for you to go. And you can do that now. They're working this summer and ready to help you. They're the folks that are going to help you not only with your on-campus job search, but also throughout your time at Seattle U. They can do many different topics. So things like resumes, cover letters, interviewing practice, networking practice, LinkedIn profiles, just navigating the job search and making sure you have a good job search strategy, career discernment if you're not sure where you want to go or what types of things you might be interested in. So lots of great support from the career coaches. They have 30 minutes appointments. You can do virtual or in person. In addition to those appointments, they also host career fairs, workshops, events, employer events. You will see them pop up in your classroom from time to time. They collaborate with our faculty. So you might even get the opportunity to work on your resume in class, which is, I think, ideal in many cases. So definitely get familiar with the Career Engagement Office. If you are an Albers Business School student, there is also an Albers Career Center, so a career center specifically for business school students. You're welcome to use the Career Engagement Office as well. It's open to all students, but there is one specific for Albers. So, okay,
I want to do another quick activity with some of the time that we have. I know there's some questions and
concerns about, if you're applying to some of these jobs and maybe they look a little bit more advanced and you're not sure if you're qualified. So let's just talk through what are, some of the skills like you'd need for some of the jobs on campus. So what are some of the skills that you think like a tutoring job would require? Throw those things in the chat. And while you're doing that, I can answer, are there jobs available in the lab? There is a phlebotomy assistant job that I've seen get posted. And there are a couple students who work in the health center. But within the College of Nursing, there are clinicals that you will work in as part of your education. So Okay, let's look at this here. So patience and knowledge, great knowledge of the topic, organization, communication skills, patience. A lot of people I think maybe people have met some patient tutors or maybe some not so patient tutors, seeing a lot of patience, being supportive, being flexible, being creative. Yes, these are great examples. So you came up with a lot of the same things I came up with. So having those interpersonal skills, those helping skills, being a good communicator, teamwork. You likely have to work in scheduling with both the students that you're working with, but also other tutors, as well as your supervisors. There's that kind of customer service aspect as well. Attention to detail. I like some folks said creativity, cultural awareness. I like to throw that right. You need to be able to understand that the students that you might be working with might come from a totally different background than you, and they're approaching their work and the conversations that you're having in maybe a different way than you would be approaching that. So yeah, lots of skills for tutor. Now, let's say you have worked as a barista. What are some of the skills that make you gain when you're a barista or make a good barista? Conflict resolution, for sure. What else? Multitasking, absolutely. Time efficiency, yep. So like time management, definitely. What else? Friendly and welcoming communication. Yep. So communication for sure. Teamwork. Yep. Team player. I was just going to say that. Stamina. Yeah, probably if you're working at a busy coffee shop, I'd imagine. So, yeah, I think hopefully what we're seeing here, right, is that, again, I named a lot of the same things you named. Interpersonal and helping skills, right? Communication, teamwork, customer service, attention to detail. Are you getting orders right? And also that cultural awareness, right? You're working with lots of different customers. But then there's other things. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. But what I want you to see, right, is that your barista job is not the same thing as being a tutor, right? They're different, but the same skills that you're using as a barista are going to help you be a good tutor, right? They're going to allow you to be qualified for that tutoring position. So these are the things that you really want to focus on in that resume, making sure that you have examples of how you've demonstrated these skills, right? And thinking about how you communicate that in a cover letter. So you don't have to have that exact direct experience in order to apply for some of these jobs, right? And the same thing is really going to go for if you are applying to jobs when you graduate, right? And you work on campus in a certain position. Maybe you work on campus as a tutor and then you become your goal is to be a nurse. Guess what? These skills still apply, right? Like a nurse also has to have great interpersonal skills and helping skills, communication, teamwork, have that kind of customer service focus, attention to detail, cultural awareness, right? So what we're really doing with these on-campus jobs is building up that skill set that is going to translate to so many different things. And I guarantee you that you already started some of that work, right? So let's say you're interested in a graphic design position on campus. What are some of the skills that are going to be good for a graphic designer? What are some of the things folks are going to be looking for? right? Creativity. Yep. Definitely, right? What else? And while you throw those things out, I'll answer the question in the chat. Should you create your cover letter before you apply for an on-campus job? So your cover letter is going to need to speak specifically to the job you're applying to.
So you'll want to first identify the job, read the job description, look at what they're looking for.
Then you write that cover letter to talk about the experiences that are relevant to that on-campus job. To talk about the skills and how you have those skills and qualifications that that specific job is looking for. The Career Engagement Office is a great place to go to help you do that, right? Okay, so graphic designer, I'm seeing creativity, something that pops out for the eye and grabs attention. Sure, yeah, maybe just having some of your work design software for sure. I for detail, overall planning, time management, collaboration, organization. You guys got it right. And I'm talking about like a job on campus in graphic design. So maybe having some Canva experience, communication, creativity, those technical skills, organization, teamwork, communication. Great. So let's compare that to maybe some of the experiences that you've already had.
If you were a high school club leader, right, you were involved on campus in high school, what are some of the things you gained from those experiences? What are some of the skills that you gained? Organization, I'm sure. And delegation, yeah, absolutely. Collaboration, I'm seeing absolutely. Ability to speak clearly and in an authoritative manner. Yeah, absolutely. Effective communication, knowing what you want to say and what's the best way to say it to your audience, right? Good. Anything else? Because guess what? Again, creativity. If you're planning events, what you're brainstorming, you're coming up with ideas. You might need to use Canva to promote your events, right? You might be taking your notes in a Word document or using Excel or Teams, right, to organize your stuff. Organization, communication, right? So again, these are the skills that you'll want to focus on, looking at that job description and what folks are looking for and making sure you're highlighting and pulling out from the various experiences that you have, right? And that could be being involved in high school clubs. It could be working on projects in high school. It could be athletics and sports, right? So really like digging into your experiences. And of course, any jobs that you've had, I guarantee you that a lot of those skills are going to be things that you will be able to translate to the jobs on campus. And then it's just going to keep growing from here, that skill set of competencies that are going to help you get to that career goal. These are our Seattle University career and leadership competencies. So when we talk to employers and we ask them what are they looking for in graduates, these are the things they're looking for, right? So yes, your degree and your technical experience and knowledge in your degree is important. But at the end of the day, these are maybe even more important, right? Because an employer wants to hire somebody who can think on their feet, who's going to bring ideas forward, right? Who's going to use their critical thinking skills, who's going to be able to work effectively with others, who can communicate effectively, both written and verbal, right? That they have that self-awareness to know what are their skills, what are their strengths, what do they need to work on? Are they going to take feedback well, right? And then another important thing for us at Seattle U is, right, engaging in that social justice work.
that we want you to do things that are going to help you and help us create a more just and humane world. So lots of skills within each of these competencies that you're going to get to work on when you participate in things like on-campus employment at Seattle U. Okay, so I'm going to kind of close here with just, let's say you've applied to the jobs, you did a great interview and you get a job, right? So what happens next? Before you start, you're going to need to complete new hire paperwork in order to work on campus. And you can't start work until that's done. And it does need to be done in person. So there are 3 forms that you'll need to fill out: an I-9, a W-4, and a direct deposit form. That direct deposit form asks for your bank account information so that you can get paid directly into your bank account. So you do receive paychecks of money that you can spend however you want or need for food, for books, for a night out, whatever it is. So it is not going into your student account. You are getting paid to your bank account or via a paycheck. For the I-9, this is an employment document that you will do anywhere that you have to work in the United States. And for that document, for that form, you will need to bring in either your passport or a birth certificate or social security card along with your ID or driver's license. You can even use a student ID if you need to. Yes, you can use a state ID. You could use a student ID. It doesn't have to be a driver's license. It doesn't have to be in state. Just has to be a US document. And that includes territories. I mention this now because you should bring these things to campus with you if you want to work on campus. This way we can make sure you can get your new hire paperwork done and you can get started with work on your desired start date when your supervisor wants you to start work. If you have to come to our office and you don't have these documents on you, then we have to wait. We have to push back your start date. We have to make sure that you get those documents and you fill out these forms before you can start working. So don't do that to us. Don't do that to you. We want you to start work as soon as possible. Make sure you bring these very important documents securely and keep them safe when you bring them to campus. There are also other acceptable forms of documentation for the I-9 that you can read on the I-9 website. And when you get a job on campus, we'll send you a link to that so you can see what all those options are. As we wrap up here, I will promote 2 things coming up. One is a panel event, and that is called Student Employees and Supervisors Spill the Tea. So I have told you all about student employment from my view as the director of student employment, but I want you to hear from students who work on campus and their supervisors. So you will learn about what are employers looking for, how to put forth a great application, what does the day-to-day look like for a student employee, how did they get their job, what tips do they have. So that is Tuesday, August 19th, 4:30 to 5:30, also on Zoom. I mentioned the on-campus jobs fair already. And then I will also promote the Red Hawk Hub. So this is where you will find all of our resources and information for on-campus employment, finding a job on campus, for new hire paperwork, our policies, pay and time information, filling out your timesheets. If you're an international student, there's a whole page on there for you. So you will go to the Red Hawk Hub under student success and then student employment, lots of information there for you. And that is all I have. We are at time and a little bit over. I apologize for taking a little bit long here, but I am so glad you came and I am so excited to welcome you to Seattle U when you get here. If you have questions, I will hang on the line. Feel free to chat them in. If you are ready to head out and enjoy the rest of your evening, go ahead. The recording for this session will be made available by orientation. And then if you have questions after this point, you can always email studentemployment@seattleu.edu.